I mean, literally national publicity, just banging out not guilties after not guilties. And I'm watching these lawyers. I'm like, I'm just trying to work on my art and get people and fight these cases. And I think the way you build it is you get that big case, but you show the world who you are.
Lil Durk's lawyer just dropped paperwork that had the feds scattering like the room got hit with a spotlight. The air felt tight for a second, like everyone knew something big just shifted. Drew Findlay, yeah, the billion-dollar lawyer, filed a motion that basically told the government, either show your hand or stop talking tough. That move hit different, because the whole energy flipped in Durk's favor. And trust me, I'm not sugarcoating a thing like those analysts who sound ready to cheer for him losing. This moment felt like the ground under the case moved. I'm telling you all exactly what's happening before anything else, because this is real heat. Durk might actually be closer to coming home than folks expected, and the signs have been building. But to see how he got here, you gotta rewind to when this case first started cracking at the edges. The courtroom felt cold back then, but now that chill is hitting the prosecution instead. See, the Fed's been trying to paint Durk as the mastermind behind some murder-for-hire situation aimed at Quando Rando. They claimed he put a price out, gave directions, pushed his crew. But here's where the street-savvy part kicks in. The government's whole story been floating on vague details and shadows. They're saying he did it, but when the lawyer asked when, where, how, who heard it, they had nothing but silence, and that silence said everything. They've been throwing dramatic pieces about the shooting, the stalking, all the tension around it, but when it comes to proving Durk actually ordered anything, the foundation falls apart. And that empty foundation is exactly what Drew Findlay just exposed with this new motion. The courtroom felt like it froze for a second when that filing dropped. So here's the breakdown. Drew Findlay submitted what's called a motion to dismiss for vagueness. Sounds calm, but legally, it's pressure, it's steady, it hits like a quiet threat. He basically told the court, Your Honor, these charges so unclear that my client can't even defend himself. That's not just argument, that's strategy wrapped in precision. This wasn't just beef. This was payback dressed as respect for the law. Picture someone accusing you of hitting a store, but they can't name the store, the day, the time, or the amount. How are you supposed to prove where you were? That's the corner the feds backed themselves into, and now the room feels heavier because they know it too. If they can't even tell you where, then there is no case, and that's exactly what's happening with Durk's situation right now. The room feels tense because the feds keep pushing this talk about an alleged bounty, but they still can't explain when Durk supposedly offered it, where the conversation happened, what exact words were used, how much money was involved, or who even heard it. That kind of silence hits heavy in a courtroom. And here's where things really twist into madness. They've been running with this vague story for almost 2 years, but that was only the setup. The real explosion came when Drew Findlay exposed how the government's so-called star witness labeled PW1 keeps switching his story like someone scrambling to dodge blame. The air practically cracked when folks heard this. First, he said there was no bounty at all. Then he claimed he never agreed to hurt anybody for money. Then he said he acted under pressure. But now he is suddenly claiming Durk's boy stayed behind in LA to collect and hand out bounty money. That shift alone made people stop breathing for a second. But here is the wild part. The government's own evidence proved this witness was lying. They had to delete that whole collecting bounty money detail from their second indictment because the story fell apart. Drew Findlay said it plain in the paperwork: when a witness keeps changing crucial details, Durk's defense is forced to chase a moving target, and that's fundamentally unfair. That line hit like a cold truth in a quiet room. Then the dots started connecting, and this is where the detective work gets real. The government tried to use Durk's lyrics as evidence, but Findlay crushed that argument instantly. He told the court straight up, if the prosecution can't prove their case without rap lyrics, they got bigger issues than this motion. And he wasn't lying. They got 20 terabytes of phone data, multiple cooperating witnesses, cross-country communication logs, yet they're still leaning on songs. That's weak strategy dressed up as strength. What really opened everyone's eyes was Findlay's example about coded language. He said, imagine the government keeps Durk clueless about the exact phrase he supposedly used. And then at trial, a witness says, when Durk said the eagle has landed, that meant he put a bounty out. How is his team supposed to fight that if they're hearing it for the first time in court? They can't research it, can't find witnesses, can't prepare at all. That's trial by ambush, and that's not justice. The street's been buzzing about this motion all week, and now you see exactly why. Legal experts are saying this might be one of the strongest challenges they've ever seen in a federal case like this. The whole room felt heavier when those filings hit. Like everyone suddenly realized the government's playbook just got exposed. What Drew Findlay did was pull the curtain back on their entire strategy, overwhelm the jury with dramatic footage, stalking details, street tension, photos, hoping nobody notices they can't prove Durk actually ordered anything. That silence between the evidence and the accusation cuts deep because it shows what's missing. It's like showing the jury a whole bank robbery on camera, then pointing at some random man and saying he planned it, without a single connection tying him to the plan. The robbery footage might be loud, but if you can't link the mastermind, you got nothing. And the craziest part, the government really tried to argue that the exact words Durk allegedly used didn't matter. But Finley hit back steady and sharp. A bounty offer is as essential to a murder for hire charge as a false statement as to wire fraud. One missing piece and the whole structure collapses. Now let me keep it real about what this means for Durk. This motion is forcing the government into a corner. They can't hide behind vague accusations and shifting witness stories anymore. Finley basically told them, either bring the specifics or stop pretending you have a case. If they can't say when, where, or how an alleged bounty was offered, this whole indictment might crumble. And after 2 years, they still haven't produced those details. That pressure is starting to show. The fact that their star witness keeps flipping his story is a massive problem too. Juries don't trust someone facing life who keeps reinventing their version of events. That kind of inconsistency hits like a warning. Someone's protecting themselves, not telling the truth. And don't forget, the government already had to remove parts of their indictment because their own evidence didn't support it. That alone shows they stretched their claims from day one. But here's why this motion cuts to the bone. First, it attacks the foundation. If they can't prove a bounty, they can't prove murder for hire, and without that, most of the other charges fall apart. Second, it spotlights the unreliable witness problem. 4 different versions of the same story. That's not testimony, that's chaos. Third, it exposes how the government keeps shifting its theory of the case. They indicted Durk on one narrative but are trying to prosecute him on a completely different one, and that's not how real justice works. Findley called them out on every angle and the courtroom felt that truth hit. From the street's perspective, all this lines up perfectly. In cases like these, the feds usually flip somebody close, squeeze them, and build a whole narrative off what that one person claims. But when that person keeps twisting their story, when the evidence don't line up with their mouth, when they can't even explain the basic facts of what supposedly went down, that's when the whole case starts feeling shaky. And that's exactly what's happening here. The feds walked in thinking they had a clean slam dunk, but once you look past the noise, the whole file looks like it's held together by guesses. And here's another piece. The streets already spotted Durk wasn't in Georgia when King Von died, and he wasn't in LA when the other shooting popped off. The only angle tying him to anything is the claim he gave directions. But if they can't prove what was said, when it was said, or how it was said, then the connection disappears. That silence in the timeline hits harder than any statement. What Drew Findley did with this motion, that's advanced level legal pressure. He's not sitting back defending, he's attacking the weak points straight up. By demanding every detail about the alleged bounty and the supposed directions, he is forcing the government to either show evidence they don't really have or expose that they've been running off speculation the whole time. The air gets heavier every time that truth gets mentioned. And here's the wild part. Even if the judge doesn't dismiss the whole case, they might order the government to hand over a full bill of particulars. That's basically a forced breakdown of every detail they claim happened. If what they turn in doesn't match what they told the grand jury, or if they can provide anything solid at all, Durk's team can tear it apart at trial. That's the kind of setup that turns pressure into leverage. Now zoom out and look at what this means for hip-hop as a whole. The Fed's been using lyrics as weapons for years. Bobby Shmurda, YNW Melly, all the way to Durk. They keep treating creative expression like taped confessions. But Findley just sent a message through this motion. If you need rap lyrics to prove a crime, you don't have proof of the crime. That line alone could end up helping a lot of artists down the road. The streets felt that shift instantly. And another thing, the timeline don't add up. The government trying to use a song that dropped 7 months before the shooting to claim it proves intent. But that's like saying someone who wrote about robbing banks in January must robbed a bank in August. It's lazy logic, and everyone can see that crack in the wall. And let's get into the witness, because this is where the whole case collapses. The same guy went from "there was no bounty" to "I was forced" to "someone else collected the money." Every version contradicts the last one. That kind of inconsistency would shake any jury, and the streets already know when someone keeps switching their story like that, they're trying to save themselves, not tell the truth. But the government's own evidence proves that last claim is a lie, and that's where everything starts collapsing. The air in that courtroom feels different now because their key witness, the one they needed to hold this whole story together, suddenly has zero credibility. He is trying to testify about the most important part of the case while standing on shaky ground, and good luck selling that to a jury. That kind of inconsistency hits hard because jurors pay attention to what isn't there just as much as what's shown, and what the government doesn't have speaks louder than anything they presented. They don't have recordings of Durk ordering anything. No texts about a bounty, no financial trail showing a payout, no witness who heard exact directions, no physical evidence tying him to any planning. The silence around those missing pieces feels heavier than the accusations themselves. All they've got is circumstantial noise and a witness who keeps rewriting his own script. And that's not enough for a federal murder for hire conviction. Findley's strategy is sharp because he isn't just defending, he is attacking the prosecution's credibility head-on by exposing every hole, every contradiction, every missing detail. He's making it harder for the government to convince anybody. Even if something surfaces later that looks bad for Durk, the jury is going to remember the foundation was cracked from the start. That kind of doubt doesn't fade. So here's the reality, fam. This motion might have just changed Durk's entire future. The government's been running on assumptions and unreliable witnesses, hoping dramatic details would distract from the gaps in their real evidence. But Findley forced the entire case under a spotlight, and suddenly all those missing details can't hide anymore. That's pressure they didn't expect. Now, I'm not saying Durk got this in the bag. The Fed still got resources and they might try to double back with something stronger. But what I am saying is this: his chances just got a whole lot better. This motion showed everyone that when you have the right legal mind, someone who understands the system and knows exactly where to press, you can expose weaknesses the government hoped nobody would notice. And Findley reminded everybody of the truth. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. If they can't show when, where, or how this bounty was ever offered, then the whole case risks falling apart. The street's been saying free Durk since day one, and after reading this motion, that chant might hit reality sooner than anyone expected. The city feels that shift like a cold moment before the verdict. So tell me what why all think. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know if you believe Durk can beat this case. And don't forget to subscribe because it helps more than you think while your boy keeps breaking down every update as it drops. Real recognize real. Always.